I've been showing up here every single day for nearly 80 days in a row. And if I'm honest, sometimes it feels like nothing was really working. And this isn't the first time that this has happened throughout my life when I've made the decision to make big life changes, choose differently, make big life decisions. And that's the part that makes you question everything when things feels like it's really not working. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video, what is actually happening in that phase when things feels like it's really not working until it actually does. So I've shared with you before on this 100-day journey that I'm showing up here on YouTube every single day. Before my corporate career burnout, after my corporate career burnout, I made a lot of big life changes, pivots, chose to choose differently, live differently. But sometimes things just felt like things were not working after I've made the decision to make these big changes. Even sometimes, even if they were small changes, sometimes things just felt like they weren't working, choosing differently, showing up differently, making big changes, but nothing really felt different. And the interesting thing is, like, using this YouTube journey for one example, I'm going to share another one too, but with this YouTube journey, because it's so fresh, I'm actively going through it. I actually made a video on day 30 about, like, you can do anything for 30 days, but then what? Kind of talking to that point about, like, you're making changes, you're doing everything, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're showing up every day. And here I was at 30 days on this new journey of showing up every day on YouTube, and things did not feel different. It still required a lot of effort for me to show up here. And you always hear that thing in the world about habits taking 21 days, but here I was at 30 days and things still didn't feel different. So I talked about that. And then when day 50 rolled around, I did a video, celebrating. I'm at day 50, I'm halfway along this 100-day journey. And it did start to feel more easeful, but I would say it was around day 52 or 53 where I felt like, okay, I'm in the flow, I'm in the rhythm. It didn't require as much effort for me to show up every day. But on day 64, that one video changed everything. Day 64 was the day my video went viral. You might be here because of that viral video. That happened on day 64. And last weekend, I was talking with a girlfriend, and she was asking me how my YouTube journey was going. She knew I was doing this 100-day journey. I shared with her that one of my videos had went viral, and she goes, I saw that. And she just happened to ask me, she goes, what, like, how long did it take? Like, what day was it that the video went viral? And I told her it was day 64. And she goes, that's interesting. And I go, like, what, girl, what are you talking about? And she was like, have you ever heard of the law of 62? And I was like, no, I've never heard of it. Oh, that tea good. It's good and warm. And I told her, no, I had never heard of the law of 62. So she shared with me what it was, and she sent me a video about it. And it's the idea that things don't really start to gain momentum until around that 60 something day mark. And in the video she shared with me, it was this guy he talked about a few artists, but the one that I can remember was, he said, like, it was 2 Chainz. I think he said Drake, some other artists too, like, their careers really didn't like pop off until that 60 something day record or song, or like something along those lines. Just kind of speaking about like that first phase of things is the hardest. He also talked about like how when a rocket takes up into outer space, it uses all of its, well, it uses a great amount of like fuel to get going in the beginning. Like most of the energy is used through the beginning. And then that made like so much sense to me because I had already lived that. Like I had the evidence, at my day 64 with the video going viral. That was the external shift for me, and internally, because I had been doing these videos every day for now I'm at 60 something days, and the flow just felt different and the payoff was there, with that video going viral, me being able to see what content or conversations landed with you, which ones didn't, how when I speak about things this way or that way, and then being able to put that video out in that way and it went viral. This has also happened during my season of burnout. So after I had left my 6-figure healthcare leadership job and I'm now on sabbatical, I'm not working, I'm waking up whatever time I want to wake up. I'm just really doing what I desire. I don't have the chaos and the hysteria and the confusion all around me. But I talk about this in great detail in my book. I would say the first 30 days, girl, like my body, I was feeling worse. Like I was not feeling, and you would think, okay, I finally got this job, is no longer a concern of mine. It's gone. The first 30 days, my body was feeling worse. Like my therapist told me why, I was having all this tension pent up in my body for years. And then now that my body finally felt like in a safe place, it was, purging all of that tension. But in addition to that, like the habits and things that I was starting to build, figuring out which direction I wanted to take. How did I want to really use this time to heal, to grow, to develop? I really didn't get, again, like a steady flow, a steady pattern, how I wanted to move about the day, how I wanted to use my energy, all of those things again until around that 60 something day mark. So it really is something there around that 60 something day mark. And it's not just about making the changes, but who you are becoming. And, I talk about that embodiment piece because we can do all the things. If you're watching this video, you don't have a problem with doing, with executing, with moving things forward. But have you internally made that shift to become the person that requires? And another example that happened either was it last week or maybe the week before last? I can't remember. I practice a very calm life. That was one of the things that was very important to me after I left my 9 to 5, because it was a high stress environment that I was in, working in like a hospital setting. It was very high stress. It was often just a lot going on, like chaotic, frantic. It was just a lot going on at the time. So I knew that after I had left that, I wanted to have a calm life, and not just in an environment, because that's one thing I can do is cultivate an environment. So I did that. My home is very calm, very peaceful, very easeful, but not just in the environment, but also in how I respond to things. I wanted to be able to respond to challenges, hardships, things that just pop up out of the blue. I wanted to be able to respond to them in a level of calm. And what made me know, like I've been practicing again, all these things for like 4 years now, 4 years and counting, going into 5 years as I redesign this life that I desire. But last week, it was a reminder that I am that person now, because I was on my healthcare insurance looking for something. I had to pull a receipt for something or another. And I saw a bill that was like for a doctor's visit that was like $4,000. And I was like, in my mind, where this come from? Because I have health insurance, so why should I receive a bill for $4,000? And internally, I'm like, what? Like 4,000 American dollars? So I called the insurance company to, inquire, and she was like, yes, yes. So I called the insurance company to, inquire, and she was like, yes, yes, it's accurate. And I was like, I have health insurance. And she was like, well, this part, this, that, and the other wasn't covered. And I was like, oh, okay, girl. Like, of course, I didn't say it that way on the phone, but I'm like, okay, girl, because I had this long conversation with my doctor and she was very thorough. So I was like, this just cannot be right. But I felt like a former part of me would have been already freaking out, like $4,000. How am I going to pay this? Like, that's a lot of money, like already like freaking out. So after I got off the phone with the insurance company, I called my doctor. Well, no, I didn't. I did not call her. I sent her a email, because you were able to email, just telling her, I received this bill for this amount, your staff insured me that blah, blah, blah. And I would say like 10 minutes later, her medical assistant called me and she says, hey, Erica, I just got, your email that you sent to the doctor. And she was like, is it an actual bill you received, or is it like the insurance claim? You know how that stuff go. And I said, it's the insurance part. She was like, okay, don't worry about that. She goes, you will only have to pay your copay as instructed. So just wait for that bill to come for your copay. Don't pay anything additional. And she goes, when you receive the bill, if it's anything outside of your copay, then call us back and we'll get it straightened out. And again, I just kept a very calm demeanor. I kept very calm internally, even though when I first saw it, I was like, what is this? And then I didn't explode. I didn't explode internally. Like, again, how am I going to pay this? What am I? And when the insurance person said, oh no, this is right, I didn't go out. Well, my insurance, like, I didn't do any of that. And again, that was just a reminder for me that I have now truly embodied that. And of course, it's still a work in progress, because things will always continue to come up in our lives. But it's that just constant practicing, using that calmness as my personal example, not just calm in my environment, but calm internally in how I choose to respond to things. And that's how I knew that something had changed, because of my response in that situation. And me knowing that I kind of wanted to talk about that, it was like a real reminder. And I was like, and I'm going to use this as an example, because that's like a real life example. Like when we choose to make these changes, when we choose to make these shifts, when we choose to make these pivots, and while we're in it, it doesn't feel like it's working until it does. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of women stop here because it feels like, nothing is working. But just because it doesn't feel different yet doesn't mean that the evolution is occurring, underneath. Some of you already know this, that just because you're not feeling it immediately doesn't mean that the evolution isn't happening underneath. And sometimes it's not just about consistency or doing the things. Sometimes it's things you can't see. It's the blind spots. It's patterns that you have, reactions, habits, beliefs, the way you think about things. And those are the things that can often keep you stuck even when you're trying. And for the women who are really ready for a change, a shift, a pivot, another video, another podcast is just not going to fix that. At some point, you have to make the decision to actually move, to actually start checking in with yourself, to actually start. And that's exactly why I created the Ambition Reset. It's 7 days, 10 minutes a day, because when I was able to look back again over my season of making big life changes, big life pivots, I can clearly see the blind spots that I could not see then. And that's what I put inside of this product. 7 days, 10 minutes in real space just to be with yourself. And if you're interested, I've linked it down in the description box. But I think it's important to just talk about this part, because I know if you're watching this video, you're probably ready for a change or ready for a shift, or you've made changes in the past and maybe didn't stick with them long enough because you felt like something wasn't working. But just because you're not feeling it immediately does not mean that things are not changing underneath in the background. Because sometimes it's not that it's not working, you're still just in that building area. And again, I've just seen it so many times throughout my life as I'm redesigning, as I'm rebuilding, as I'm designing the life that I want to live, how I want to live, and how I want to work. If you've missed any of the other conversations I've had on this 100-day journey, I've linked the playlist down in the description box. I'm Erica Prevail, and I share daily conversations helping ambitious women rework their relationship with ambition, capacity, rest, and creativity. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.